It is day 4 in the case against Timothy Ferriter, and the state rested its case in chief. Ferriter is the Florida father accused of forcing his teenage son to live in an 8x8 box in the family's garage. He does face up to 30 years in prison if convicted.
Now, for most of the day, the jury watched ring camera videos of the alleged victim in the box. And right now, court is still in session. The defense has begun their case, so there's a new witness on the stand. Let's get you back into court.
To put on a defense if they wish. They will be calling witnesses, so we are now in that portion of the case called the defense's case. And with that, Mr. Waheed, does the defense have a witness to call?
Yes, Judge.
All right.
This time, the defense calls Kellen McCoy.
Okay. All right. Before we administer the oath to Ms. McCoy, this testimony is being conducted via Zoom by agreement of the parties. The witness will be sworn in. And again, you are to view and consider and listen to the testimony the same as you would if this person was sitting right here on the witness stand here. Everybody understand that? Okay. All right. So, ma'am, I'm going to go ahead and administer the oath. If you could raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. All right, Mr. Waheed, you may proceed.
All right. So, and it's a little weird. I'm not facing anywhere, but I'm actually facing the camera. So hopefully Ms. McCoy is looking at me as I ask the questions. Ms. McCoy, if for some reason through technology you don't hear what I say, please, ask me to repeat it. And of course, if I ask a question that doesn't make sense, which happens a lot, just go ahead and tell me to repeat that as well. Ms. McCoy, can you?
I think I'm going to make it easier on you. I'm going to switch the video for her so she just look right at that video there.
Okay, great.
All right, you have to proceed.
Can you please state your full name?
Kellen Marie Hynum.
And what was your maiden name?
McCoy.
Okay. So currently, are you working?
No.
You're home with a fairly young child, correct?
A couple, yes.
Okay. Back in 2018-19, were you working as a teacher?
Yes.
Okay. How long were you teaching?
At that point in time, maybe four or so years.
And what city did you live in at that time?
Tucson, Arizona.
What school did you teach at?
Immaculate Heart Academy.
Was Immaculate Heart is that a private school, public school?
Private.
Okay. And what grades did you teach back then?
I taught 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and 4th grade consecutively.
And do you recall in 2018-19 school year, what grade were you teaching?
I'm not certain. It was either 3rd or 4th grade.
All right. So, do you know?
Yes.
Okay, and how do you know her?
She was a student of mine.
And do you remember when that was?
2019.
In 2019?
I believe 2019.
Okay. Was there ever some moment where into your classroom and asked you to make an announcement? Do you recall that?
Yes.
Do you recall when that was approximately?
Can you repeat that question?
Sure. Do you recall when approximately what month and year that happened?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember for sure. Maybe February of 2019 or March.
All right. And would it help to refresh your recollection if you had something to look at from that time?
Yes.
So earlier today, my office should have emailed you a document. if you
Okay.
take a look at that and tell me if that refreshes your recollection as to the time frame we're talking about.
Yes. 1 second.
I'm sorry?
March of 2019.
All right, so March of 2019. All right. And tell me what you recall happening.
He came into my classroom and asked if he could make an announcement to my class, which at that point in time, it was a regular thing for teachers to send students to other classrooms to make announcements. So I said, yes, you can make an announcement to the class. So he walked to the front of the class and started to say things where I quickly realized he was not sent by another teacher. He to humiliate her in front of the whole class. He made her cry. And once I caught on to this wasn't to the fact that he was not making an announcement sent by another teacher, I stopped him and I asked him to go back to his own classroom.
And did he leave?
Yes, he did.
Did you know Ola?
Yes, she was very, very upset. She was crying, and it took a while for her to gain her composure.
What was your impression of that whole incident? I'm sure
Sustained.
had you
My impression,
I'll ask another question. Had you ever had something like that happen in your class before?
Objection relevant.
Sustained.
Based on what happened, did you do anything next? Did you reach out to the parents?
yes, I did. I sent them an email.
Generally stating what had happened, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what, if anything, was their response to you notifying them of this action?
They came in immediately, I believe later that day, to talk about it. They had requested that they meet separately. So first I met with mom and talked to mom about what had happened. And then after that, I met with dad separately to talk about it. And while I was talking to each parent, the kids were waiting by themselves, either in the hallway or while I met with dad.
So let me talk to you about the dad response, Tim Ferriter's response. When he met with you, when you conveyed, so let me ask you, what is it generally he wanted to know about?
Objection as to hearsay.
Trying to avoid the hearsay, just generally.
I'm going to overrule the question as phrased, but ma'am, you're not to say what Mr. Ferriter said. You're only supposed to state what your understanding was that he wanted to know. You can answer subject to that limitation.
So what did he want to know?
Can I continue?
Yes.
Yes, you can state what was your understanding of what he wanted to know.
My understanding is that he wanted to know the facts of what happened. He seemed concerned and wanted to just understand what the situation was. And he was very,
Go ahead.
he seemed very receptive and understanding of what had happened.
Did he, in your presence, ask you any follow-up questions regarding trying to determine if there was any punishment from the school, detention, or if the school was
Not that I can recall.
And did he give you some indication that they would handle it as a family at home?
That was my impression, although he didn't. I don't remember him stating anything directly saying what they were or weren't going to do at home.
Was there any impression you got from that interaction as to what, if anything, he was going to do next?
Objection as to speculation.
Sustained.
No.
Based on that interaction, so you had a separate interaction.
Mr. Wade, let me just make sure the witness knows. When I sustain an objection, ma'am, that means you're not to answer it, okay? Do you understand that? And I sustain the objection to the last question, so the answer is stricken. Jury is instructed to disregard it. You may continue now, Mr. Wahid.
Sure. You had a similar conversation with the mother, correct?
Yes.
Did the mother also inquire of you as to essentially the facts of what happened?
Yes.
Based on that interaction, did the mother give you any impression as to, or ask you if there were any consequences at the school that were going to take place?
Not that I can recall.
One moment.
Granted.
You know, interesting witness there, Kelly, because what's become clear to me after going through the statute and listening to the arguments, I think there's a direction for the defense. They need to show this jury that his actions, the defendant's actions, weren't malicious, willful, or contained evil intent. To that end, they need to show that they did these things as a result, as a punishment, and there was a reason for them. And I think what's important, you made a great point. You know, you have the priest there, you have the wife there. Having that support system in court, I think, is an important visual for this jury to show that there's support for what he was doing and, by extension, his wife was doing.
Exactly. And something I talked about with Julia last hour was, I mean, where are some of these people that would come forward saying, we noticed this was a problem inside this family? The state didn't present any of that kind of evidence.
Right, and what we're not hearing from this one, now we're gonna wait for the cross, but we haven't heard anything about, you know, they were concerned about Tim Ferriter. Basically, she said he seemed understanding.
Exactly.
So important stuff there.